Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something really exciting. We are diving headfirst into one of the most infamously complex, yet, trust me on this, deeply rewarding pieces of modern literature, T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. But don't worry, we aren't tackling the whole shebang at once. We are keeping our focus incredibly sharp today. We're going to demystify just the very first section of this masterpiece, Canto 1, titled The Burial of the Dead. We're going to break down its famously fragmented voices piece by piece to uncover the fascinating narrative that's been hiding in plain sight all along.
Now, to do this right, we're anchoring our entire journey directly in the text. We're using the definitive version sourced straight from the Poetry Foundation. So no outside noise, no fluffy filler, just a direct text-based guided tour of Eliot's world. Let's go ahead and step right into the landscape he builds for us.
April is the cruelest month. Right out of the gate, Eliot drops what's arguably one of the most famous opening lines in literary history. It instantly plunges us into this jarring, desolate landscape. There's no gentle preamble, no warm welcome. We are immediately forced to confront a reality that feels, honestly, entirely backwards. I mean, why on earth would April, the month of spring and sunshine, be cruel?
Section 1. The Cruelest Month, an Upside-Down World.
Okay, let's dive into this because this opening completely flips our normal expectations of nature right on their head. Eliot is establishing a world where the natural rules are entirely inverted. We're stepping into an upside-down reality where rebirth isn't a joy, it's an absolute agony. Just look at how he compares the seasons here. Spring is cruelest because it forces dead things to awaken. It's breeding lilacs out of the dead land, essentially forcing us to feel again by mixing memory and desire and stirring dull roots. Now on the flip side, look at winter. Winter kept us warm. The snow is forgetful. It allows us to just numbly, quietly exist, feeding a little life with dried tubers. In this world, the rebirth of spring is a terribly painful awakening from a comfortable numbness. But just as we're processing that, the voice abruptly shifts. Suddenly, we're listening to a woman named Marie. It's a wistful, almost breathless recollection of her childhood, staying at the Archduke's, going out on a sled. Marie, hold on tight, and down we went. It injects this fleeting, highly nostalgic sense of freedom and motion into the poem. In the mountains there you feel free. But it's short-lived, because right after, she admits she now just reads much of the night and goes south in the winter, effectively retreating back into that wintry, forgetful numbness we just talked about.
Section 2, Broken Images and Shadows.
And just like that, Marie's fleeting moment of childhood freedom evaporates. We drop straight into a much darker, almost biblical, prophetic voice, describing an apocalyptic, utterly barren landscape. The voice asks, what are the roots that clutch? What branches grow out of this stony rubbish? It tells us we know only a heap of broken images where the sun beats and the dead tree gives no shelter. This is a profoundly uncomfortable place. There's no relief from the crickets, no sound of water from the dry stone. And this fragmented, parched world, well, that is exactly the psychological terrain we are trying to navigate.
Then, this prophetic voice invites us under the shadow of a red rock with this incredibly chilling promise. I will show you fear in a handful of dust. Notice that direct connection there. He is talking to you. It forces us to confront our own mortality, stripping away literally everything until nothing is left but dust, and the profound, unavoidable fear that accompanies that realization.
Section 3. The Hyacinth Girl.
Let's see how this builds. Because right as the tension peaks with that handful of dust, Eliot abruptly shifts gears on us again. We move away from that dry, red rock and suddenly drop into a seemingly romantic, lush memory in a hyacinth garden. We hear a youthful voice saying, "You gave me hyacinths first a year ago. They called me the Hyacinth Girl." It's incredibly beautiful and tender, offering this stark, almost heartbreaking contrast to the stony rubbish and dead trees we were just standing in. It's a vibrant memory of life, of connection, of blooming flowers.
But look at how the narrator actually responds to this memory. When they come back from the garden, late, arms full of flowers, hair wet, the narrator completely fails to connect. They say, "I could not speak, and my eyes failed." What should be a moment of profound love and vitality instead turns into a tragic, paralyzing silence. The speaker is entirely empty, neither living nor dead, just staring into the heart of light, the silence. Even in the presence of overwhelming beauty, there is a total, devastating failure to live.
Section 4, Madame Sosostris's Tarot Cards. This total failure of connection brings us to our next vignette. Enter Madame Sosostris, the famous clairvoyant. We leave the heavy silence of the garden and walk right into the rather mysterious, slightly sketchy parlor of a fortune teller to see exactly what her cards hold for this broken world. Now there is a brilliant touch of irony here that we absolutely cannot ignore. Madame Sostres is known to be the wisest woman in Europe with deep spiritual foresight, yet she's grounded by something as remarkably mundane as a bad cold. It's a subtle little joke from Iliad. The grand oracle of the modern age is sniffling through her prophecies.
Cold or not, she starts pulling from her wicked pack of cards. Let's actually walk through this inventory. She draws the drowned Phoenician sailor. Those are pearls that were his eyes. She draws Belladonna, the Lady of the Rocks. She finds the man with 3 staves, the wheel, the one-eyed merchant, and a blank card she's forbidden to see. But crucially, the one card she cannot find is the Hanged Man, and because of that she issues a very dire warning: fear death by water.
And then she says this: I see crowds of people walking round in a ring. This line right here is the absolute pivot point for our explainer today. It seamlessly transitions us from the fortune teller's claustrophobic little parlor directly into the grim modern reality just outside our window. We are about to meet those crowds.
Section 5. The Unreal City.
We've arrived at the climax, folks. That vision of the crowds leads us directly into the unreal city. We are plunged headfirst into the bleak, foggy, almost zombie-like crowds of commuters making their way through a winter morning in London. The atmosphere is instantly suffocating. It's an unreal city trapped under the brown fog of a winter dawn. A massive crowd flows over London Bridge. The imagery is bleak, it's urgent. These aren't joyous morning walkers. They exhale short and infrequent sighs, and every single person has their eyes fixed firmly down at their feet as they march towards St. Mary Woolnoth clock striking 9.
Now, what's really fascinating about how the narrator observes this crowd is this profound realization. I had not thought death had undone so many. Think about it. The modern daily commute is being directly compared to the literal realm of the dead. These people are walking, they're breathing, they're commuting to work, but spiritually, they are already undone. They are the living dead of the unreal city.
Then, out of nowhere, there's this jarring break in the monotony. The narrator spots an old war comrade in the crowd and yells out, "Stetson!" He remembers him from the ships at Milet. But instead of a normal, friendly greeting, the narrator asks him a highly disturbing, completely surreal question.
With this rapid-fire tension, he demands, "That corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout?" Talk about a plot twist, right? The line between domestic backyard gardening and hiding a murder is completely blurred here. Remember that cruel spring from the beginning of the canto, the mixing of memory and desire, the stirring of dull roots? Well, now we see that what is sprouting isn't a beautiful lilac. It's a literal corpse.
He doesn't even wait for an answer. The interrogation just continues with back-to-back questions. Will it bloom this year, or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed? The tension is incredibly high. This beautifully, terrifyingly showcases the absolute absurdity and nightmare logic of the unreal city. Death and life are twisted together so tightly, you honestly can't tell which is which anymore.
So the crucial takeaway here is the sheer paranoia that follows. He warned Stetson, "Oh, keep the dog far hence, or with his nails he'll dig it up again." There's this desperate underlying fear that buried secrets, the traumas, the literal or metaphorical corpses of our past, are constantly threatening to be clawed right back to the surface. You can't just bury the past and walk away. The dog will always dig it up.
And Canto 1 concludes with this stark, totally confrontational slam. You, hypocrite lector, mon semblable, mon frère. Hypocrite reader, my likeness, my brother. Eliot turns the camera directly on us. He implicates the viewer. We aren't just passively observing this wasteland from the sidelines, we are a part of it. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question as we wrap up today. If we are indeed the hypocrite readers walking through this unreal city, what exactly are the corpses we've planted in our own gardens, hoping they won't sprout? Thanks so much for exploring the burial of the dead with me. I'll see you next time.